All right, well, y'all ready? Let's roll into the next one. See,
Let's
listen,
do it.
Yeah.
I think we all been kind of looking forward to this for for a week or
This the
so.
one. This the one right here.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to bring to you the Hughes family, Mr. and Mrs. Hughes
Yeah.
from right now Vegas. Welcome to the Golden All right. First off, good evening, afternoon, in your afternoon, evening, however you want to. Almost good night.
Almost evening. We'll take it.
Almost, yeah. How y'all doing this evening?
We're
Doing
great.
good. Doing good.
Thank y'all for
First,
joining us.
yes. First off,
Definitely.
let me say congratulations with the commitment and everything. Um, it's not on, and I told y'all when we talked, I said there may be a spinoff question. One thing I don't think I have on here. How did it feel that Jeremiah chose your anniversary as the date to commit?
Oh wow. I mean, for us it was really special. I mean, it's our 15th year anniversary. I mean, the fact that he wanted to share it on our day, that was pretty big for us. I mean, and in all honesty, what most people don't know is he was going to wait to commit in August,
Mm.
and he moved it up after the visit. So that lets me know that he was like, I already know where I want to be. This is a great day. The anniversary is coming up. Let's do it on that day. And I was like, hey, sounds good. Whatever works for you.
All right.
It's awesome, awesome. And happy and belated anniversary to y'all, by the way, also.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Nurse Court says hello, Miss
Hey,
Ninja.
Nurse Court.
All right. One of the first things, and I'm asking this personally because I have a son he's going upcoming junior this year. As a parent, what were some of the things that you were looking for in your college choice? Because I know it's not just Jeremiah's choice; it's also y'all's choice as well. So, as parents, what were some things that y'all were looking for?
Well, I will say, Lorenzo allowed me to kind of take the reins, a little bit more in the recruiting process. So most of those things, I kind of was involved in, and doing the investigating, seeing if what's the right fit. But I have to stop you really more than anything. It's not my choice; it's his
Okay.
choice. I can't
Yeah.
I can't go in it thinking it's my choice. I don't have to go to school there. I don't have to live there. I don't have to see what the community is like. It really was his choice. And we went into this process and we all agreed that when he knew. And we took him wherever he wanted to go. That was our job to take him wherever he wanted to go. And believe me, we went everywhere. But in the end, it was his choice. And we made the decision that really that was on him. So I have to stop you there. But before you go into that, it has to be your son's choice.
Gotcha.
But as far as what we were looking for is a place that he was going to be comfortable with, that he felt like he could grow, that he could go to the next level, um, and that the coach really saw him, not just stars or but that he could be developed. You got a lot of 4 or 5 stars that are out there, but I always say, well, if you're a 4 or 5 star already, how much more developing can you really do? So as we all know, we hear Jeremiah being labeled a 3 star, but that means he has it's some things he can do, and is willing to learn. And so who's going to develop him at the next level and really get him there? And so those were the things that I could say that were really important. What you think?
Well, being a man, I want my son to be respected. That's the first thing men want. We want respect,
Definitely.
and I also want him to be around a role model, men that's going to mentor him and take him through that journey to become a man. He's a male, but that man journey that requires a little bit more than just
Right.
being
Agreed.
just male. And then I want him to find something that he loves. You football is his love. And sometimes when you go to school, when you go to college, you have to find your next love. football has been his love for a long time. And then, so when I talked to Brian Kelly, he was more into tangible things, uh, accountability, responsibility, um, principles, that kind of stuff. That really builds a man. So people are already putting his eyes on tangible things. But I need somebody to put his eyes on accountability, responsibility, principles. And I felt like that's what was going on at LSU.
Let me ask you this: how did y'all narrow down your schools to know which ones y'all are going to take visits to?
As I said, Jeremiah narrowed them down. I mean, this really was, I mean, Jeremiah had like 18, 19 offers. And um, if I had to say one thing that I definitely thought that Jeremiah didn't want to be is anywhere cold. I think it didn't want to be anywhere cold. Even though Arkansas has some cold weather, I think he would have dealt with it there. But I don't think he really wanted to be anywhere really really cold. He, I think for him more than anything, it was about relationships. I mean, I've been saying that. How many times have I been talking about that? You know, and it's the coaches that really were talking to him about things other than football. It's the same things that Lorenzo was just talking about. One of the things that you all may not know about Coach Steeples that really impressed me the first time he talked to us, because literally a lot of coaches offered Jeremiah. It was only a few that actually talked to us. I can only tell you there's a handful that actually picked up the phone and said, "Hey, we want to talk to you."
Right.
Steeples offered Jeremiah. The next day, he was talking to us. It's only a few coaches that actually did that.
Yeah.
But the thing that impressed us with Steeples is from Ferguson, and those of you guys that know what happened in Ferguson with Mike Brown, went to the high school that Mike Brown went to. It was invested into the community. He spent a lot of time talking to us about that. And he said he spent a lot of time wanting to build those young people in that community and doing his part in that community to make it better for everybody. That touched me. I'm like, because how many people who would have went to the league and want to come back and coach high school football and want to make a difference like that? That said to me a lot about his character. And he was really moved by what had happened in his community. And he talked to Jeremiah about that. And when you guys get to learn Jeremiah, Black Lives Matter is very important to Jeremiah. It used to be on his Instagram page a lot. And I think that connection that him and Jeremiah had been off of that and that conversation. But as I said, it was about relationship. If you offered him and you didn't really talk to him that much after that, or you didn't only talk to him about football, or let me also add this, or when you offered him, you were talking to him about other teammates on his team trying to get him. There was some issues there too. He kind of peeked through that. Do you really want me? And I think he looked at who saw him, as I said before, who saw him, as an individual, more than what the hype was, or just and learning about him as an individual person. And I will add this too, even after he's committed, those relationships are still important. There are a lot of coaches that after Jeremiah committed from other schools, they reached out to Jeremiah, that are still reaching out to Jeremiah, not to recruit him, but because they built a relationship with him and are saying, "Hey, we're proud of you. We're going to follow you. We thought you were a good gentleman, not just because you were a recruit, but just because you were a good young man." So those are things that I think that were really important to Jeremiah in this journey, was about relationships.
So I don't hold on, Daniel. Let me say this. The other day when you were in Spaces and we're all in there, I don't know if you noticed the title of our episode is all about relations, because you talked about and it's all about relations, and relationships and stuff. So I just want you to know that you did inspire that as well. So.
Well, I mean, relationships is important. In my inbox that your father attended UAPB. Are we UAPB graduates?
Right.
How can I turn that down? You know what I mean?
I immediately talked to him. I said, "Dad, this recruits his parents. I said, we're trying to get on the show. I said his mom went to UAPB.
Dad too. Dad,
Okay. It's either, and the first thing.
I've been going to UAPB since I was like 5 or 6 years old, in the summer sport programs and everything. When they was Hazard Gymnasium, AM and N,
But
UAPB Golden Lions.
exactly, the first thing he said was "Go Lions," and I was like,
Yes,
okay.
They got the Lions on there.
Go ahead, Dave.
I
I'm
love
sorry, I stole you.
No, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to say, Mr. Hughes and Mr. Hughes, thank y'all for coming on. But just listening to y'all talk, it looked like you guys. Some people think whenever it comes to recruiting, recruits only make a 4-year decision, but it seemed like you all. This is a lifetime decision, as far as this is a 20 plus 30-year decision, and I mean that's just good to hear. You know, it's not short sighted, but it actually, you guys have a game plan.
Let me piggyback off that and ask you this: what are some of the things that fans like? What are some misconceptions that fans have about recruiting?
whew, this is a big one. As most of you all, I shared in the spaces. I'm friends with Dorian Thompson Robinson's mom. The quarterback at UCLA, Brevin Jordan, that played in my. So I have friends that are in this process, and we were just having this conversation the other night at dinner. And one of the things that I think is the biggest misconception is that people forget that these are kids.
Yes.
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 If my son makes a decision, that doesn't mean he hates Arkansas and he's turning his back on Arkansas, or he don't like Washington, or he don't like Utah or Colorado or some of the other schools that recruited him. And kids they make mistakes. How many of us are adults? We make mistakes and we make choices and we like, oh, I shouldn't have did that,
Every day.
was it the right choice? And a lot of times I see Jeremiah didn't have this. I can say this, he didn't. But I have seen when student athletes make choices, there's a lot of hate that's out there that's directed to the student. And at that time, the student makes the best choice for them. And I think fans sometimes forget these are still kids,
Yeah.
and they're going to make mistakes. And at that time, they thought that was the best choice because, and this is the thing, you're not in the side of the recruiting. You may think that, and I'm not going to name a school. You may think that school A is the best choice for this recruit, but you weren't on a visit with school A. You don't know how they treated this student athlete on that visit. So you're not in that process. So I think that's one of the things that I think fans need to know, and that this process is not easy. I can be honest with you. It was a very stressful process for us. I think my blood pressure went up a lot. It is because it is hard to pick. I mean, literally, it is really hard to choose. Especially when you go on these official visits, because everyone is really showing you all the love and everything, and you have to kind of pick between what's real, and are you just showing me love because you're on the visit? How you going to treat my kid when he leaves the visit? And I'm not saying any of the schools that we didn't choose made us feel that way, but I'm saying through this process, you definitely have to think about that. And I don't think fans who aren't going through this process understand. And one last thing that I'll add, why Arkansas and LSU is in particular the defensive coordinators. And I remember in the spaces somebody was talking about Barry Odom the other night in the space. But it's one thing I want to share about Barry Odom and Coach House was that they have sons that are going through the process right now. And
Yeah.
both
So
of
I
them
understand.
said,
Yeah.
and both of them said, and Barry Odom actually said it to me first, and then Matt House said it when we met him. Now that we are going through the process, we feel like we should have changed some things maybe we've done in the past because we're going through it on our own. Now that we're on the other side of it, we like, oh, did I talk to a recruit different? Oh, did I make a mistake? And I think that's the part that fans may not understand, and even the coaches. So when I heard it from the coaches' side, I was like, now you understand it is a lot different,
Yeah.
and how you evaluating talent, and just like and be careful, as I always say, how you talk about recruits. Oh, they're just a 2-star, 3-star. You guys have been in this game a long time. That is all subjective. What those star ratings are. It's all about who's laying eyes on them. And you may have a 5-star recruit that is a 2 superstar that is a label. Just be mindful of that, when that conversation comes up. So those are the main things.
Yeah, I found out that it's not just the coaches that help the parents and help the player make the decision. It's a group effort. I think we're going to see the coach. We're going to see the coach, but it's a lot of people plays a role in helping those recruits make their decisions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this also. So how do you distinguish? Because of course, whenever you're going into these different campuses and you're meeting these different coaching staffs, you're getting everybody's perfect face, right? You're getting all the best. How do you distinguish what's real and what's a show?
Ooh.
Well,
I'll let him take that one.
it's just like life. You have to deal with your real.
Yeah.
What you real at. If you real with the streets, then use your streets.
Yeah.
If you real with the church, then use what God has given you. You have to when it comes to your child, you use everything that's real. You ain't dealing with no phony maroni. I don't care what you say or how much you laugh. I'm still using my God sense and my discernment and saying, Lord, is this man real? In all my ways, acknowledge him. He would direct my path. I'm using all the Jesus I can use, all the prayer I can use. It's
Yeah.
my son, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Amen.
and I'm
I heard that.
using what she knows is real. And then I'm seeing for my son to have wisdom. I pray for him to have wisdom. And not just my wisdom, his wisdom, mama to have wisdom, just like going in for a surgery. But coach to have wisdom, and all the people who are playing a role in his life, give him wisdom. Let God reveal to me what's real and what ain't real. I'm praying through all the problems, every school I go to. I'm praying before I go there. Hey, this is my son, man. I'm on the real with this one.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Chris, I know you had a question before you get ready to go. Go ahead.
How y'all doing, Mrs. and Mrs. Hughes? How y'all doing?
We're great. We're great.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question before I got out of here. I heard you talk about the weather that your son didn't want to go play in the cold up north. I'm guessing. Which one hotter? Las Vegas or Louisiana?
Oh, Vegas.
Ooh.
What? What did you just say?
Oh.
A different type
Because
of heat.
let me tell you,
That's some fighting words right there, Miss.
yeah, I was getting ready to say, wait a minute. I had to step back because it's hot here right now. We're running like 110 to 113 right now, which is pretty hot. But I will tell you, a couple years ago, and I say about 2018, I was in Houston, and it was just 99. And I swear it was a heat like I had never felt in my life. So
That humidity different.
yeah, and we lived in Arkansas for 10. I mean, for 10. Well, he lived there all his life, but we were used to the Arkansas humidity. But it's a different kind of heat. But I'm not gonna tell you that it ain't hot here. And I'm not gonna tell you.
It's hot
Hot.
Listen, I was so I for my work I go out to Arizona a lot, and it's hot, and it's like 110, 115 hot.
Yeah, Arizona is hotter than Vegas, so that you know that.
So I even deployed. So I former military. I went to Iraq, and it's hot. It's a different kind of heat. But it's still like nothing like Alabama, Louisiana humidity. I don't care what nobody say. It's hot, and I can deal with it. But that humidity, something totally different. That'll break it down.
Thick air, man.
But I will tell you this: when the main difference for those that have never been in dry heat or humidity, humidity is definitely different and will beat you down. But with dry heat, it'll kill you.
It'll kill you.
Yeah.
With a humidity, sweat and your body can try to fight off the heat. I'm not saying you still won't get heat exhaustion and you won't have heat stroke, but a dry heat, if you are not hydrated, because Jeremiah actually had a teammate that went through this at practice, that literally organs almost shut down because of dry heat. It is a totally different type of heat. You just can't play with dry heat because your body doesn't sweat to give you some water to kind of try to replenish itself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
take you
right.
back to the cowboy days is where the horses die in the desert.
Yeah.
So
And if I could also add
Yeah.
too, now whenever you guys came down for Jeremiah's visit, did you guys try any food here or any?
Ooh,
I
Friday,
mean, what were your thoughts about that?
yeah, that was a question. I'm sorry. Yeah.
that
How did y'all
booty,
like?
We had boudin.
had some alligator.
I didn't touch the
Okay,
alligator.
Yeah, and them
it
oysters,
tastes like
grilled
chicken.
oysters,
It
grilled
does taste like
oysters.
chicken.
Oh my goodness, them grilled oysters, man. I want some right now.
Yeah.
Oh
He
yeah.
been doing oysters since we came
I've been
back.
invited out to eat oysters a lot. Hey, let's go eat some oysters and beers. Like, no way. But now, when they say oysters and beers, I said, you talking about grilled oysters? I
I
learned
heard
something.
that. I heard that.
Grill those boys. We can eat them.
And I mean, I'm a little used to the Louisiana food. My mother is from northern Louisiana, so you know it definitely is.
Oh,
Man,
man.
318, baby.
Yeah, so I'm used to we used to southern food. You know, it's
Right.
Yeah.
what I have to get used to with being the southern food. It's a little bit spicier because it's a Creole, you know, which is a little different because I don't eat a lot of spicy food. But I'm really looking forward to going to. It's funny. I was actually telling my friend today. I was looking at the menu at the stadium, and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to get to the stadium because I was like, that's gonna be crazy. Some of the food
Hey,
they have."
let me
Miss
ask you
Nikki.
this. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was gonna say, look, definitely try the jambalaya. Every game, I'm getting the jambalaya. The jambalaya is
Okay.
off the chain.
Jambalaya.
It's
Jambalaya.
good. I can't say
Jambalaya.
jam.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think I need
Jambalaya.
to add one more thing before I get out of here. I want to add one more thing, guys.
Hold on, Chris. We're not gonna let that slide. This man said jambalaya.
You know who
Hold on,
I wasn't gonna let that slide either. I'm
hold
like,
on,
come on, man.
I'm in, look,
You know,
I'm in South
you know we
Louisiana,
don't
baby.
get out.
It don't matter. You there, but you saying it wrong.
hold on. That's all right. I got something perfect for that.
But I'm gonna say one more
Go
thing.
ahead,
I want
Chris.
to say one more thing. Miss Nikki and Mr. What's your name? I forgot the name. I'm sorry.
Lorenzo.
Mr. Hughes.
Mr. Lorenzo.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
difference. There's a big difference from North Louisiana food and South Louisiana food.
It
That
is.
is true.
It
It
is.
is. That's true.
Big
That's
difference.
true. That's true. That's true.
Don't go
Nobody
up there and
denying
think
that.
you're gonna get nothing. You go to Lafayette
Well,
if you want something good. Go to Lafayette.
that's right. That's what I'm at. But look, I tell you like this. The reason why there's a beef between there's a little line in Louisiana. You got Central Louisiana, you got North Louisiana, you got South
Yeah.
Louisiana.
It's called the
Now,
Boudin line. It's called the
that's
Boudin
right.
line.
I like that.
That's right.
Boudet. I like that.
I like that food.
I
So
like that.
in North Louisiana, you got some people that think they from Texas, and then you got some people that think they from Arkansas. So they have an identity crisis up there every
No,
now and then.
no.
You know?
I'm not finna. I'm not.
That's
Hey,
funny.
I'm finna defend North Louisiana and say South Louisiana always accuse us of being East Texas or South Arkansas or something like that. But whenever they get a commit from up here, they so proud to claim them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Look, my
It's
mother's
all
from
about
Homer.
football here, baby. It's
your
football.
mother from where?
She's from Homer, which is right outside.
Okay, yeah, I
Yep.
know that.
Right
Yeah,
by Minden.
that ain't far
Yeah.
from me at all. It's about 30
Yeah,
minutes from where
yeah.
I'm in Monroe, so yeah.
Okay, and we've been to Monroe. We lived in Arkansas, our boys used to run track in Monroe. We used to come down from
Yeah.
Arkansas and run track, and so
Yeah.
There you go.
we're familiar with that area. But
Okay, yeah.
and I have a niece that's at Grambling. I have a niece that's Southern, so you know we all over.
Okay, yeah. I like it. Y'all just coming and
Love
taking
it,
over the
love it.
boot, huh?
Hey, my
Love
mother
it.
said it's ironic that she said for all of her grandkids that never went to visit Louisiana, she has 3 that will be in school in Louisiana, which is crazy.
You can take them out to Louisiana, but you can't take the Louisiana out of them.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Right. So I do want to try to get back something you mentioned. Well, 2 things you mentioned, and somebody asked the question. Let me find it about. They asked, your impressions of Coach Kelly and welcome. Thank y'all for choosing LSU. And then I guess my question is, what about the staff made y'all comfortable? And I know you talked about relationships and stuff. So
So I will tell you my impressions of Coach Kelly was, just so that you, as we and I had told you private, that we had actually went to Notre Dame last summer for a
Mhm.
camp. So a lot of people don't realize that Jeremiah was actually being looked at Notre Dame. So this is a Brian Kelly has been following Jeremiah really since freshman year. Knowing, because his wide receiver coach, when Jeremiah was on the other side of the ball, had been actually following him, and we were invited to the camp last summer. So for me, I always knew because Jeremiah's DB coach, who is now the GA at LSU, had already kind of told us about Coach Kelly. He was like, he's a brilliant mind. He knows football. He knows how to put people in place, which is, the main thing that a lot of people may not understand. And as I shared with you in spaces, is that don't compare him to other people. It may be just a different he's a different guy. He's a very smart guy, and he kind of runs things like a CEO, and putting people in place. You know how a business should run. You got to have business can't run if you don't have the right people in place. And I think that is the main thing. And for me, when I go into the staff, if I mean literally from top to bottom, I'm going to be honest with you. They're it just professionalism at its finest. I mean, and it goes back to even with Jeremiah's visit. When we came for Jeremiah's visit, I know Jeremiah was looking for something. I can't tell you necessarily what it was, but I guarantee you he found it when we were there. You know what I mean? Personalization was definitely one of it, because they made sure to personalize that visit. I know you guys have seen my picture of the UAPB banner. And I'm like, that was special. I mean, that lets you and everybody knows Jeremiah's called Jay Smooth. They had the graphic made, of his
Right.
name, and so that lets you know that they were in tune, and they didn't just do that, the personalization for Jeremiah. Jackson Howard and the other Womack were on our visit too. It was personalization all around. It wasn't just Jeremiah. So that lets you know that they have people on the staff that are paying attention to what these recruits are about, who they are, their personality, and things like that. But as I have to say, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just um, the coaching staff. It was the recruitment staff, Coach Belton, Pat Hill, Sherman. I mean, I could just tell you, just top notch. Uh, Corey, Coach Corey. I mean, these are people that were having a relationship. We just weren't talking to Steeples. I mean, these are every last one of these people were talking to us throughout this whole process. But then when we landed on campus and we met Dr. Arnold, and Dr. Arnold was the game changer for me. I mean, and every university that we went to had a director of player personnel.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think I shouted a lot of them out, but I met some amazing people at the different universities. But Dr. Arnold was the game changer, and he was handpicked by Coach Kelly from a small school because he had a special talent. And I think that as you guys watch LSU in the years coming, you guys will see his impact on this program because of what he brings. I mean, on our visit, he had us writing letters to our son how we felt about the recruiting process. And, that was emotional. I mean, and he was talking to the parents while the players were getting dressed. That was emotional. I was writing, and Lorenzo was writing, and all the other parents was writing. I'm like, oh my God. And he met with us individually with Jeremiah. That goes a long way, and I think the staff just on a whole different level. I mean, I know you had some thoughts about Coach Kelly.
Oh yeah, when I talked to his staff as we was going through the process, these people, as you can see, most people listen to my wife. I don't have folks walking and say, "Hey, what you got to say there, guy?" I had to me, man. They was asking me coming back, "Hey, can you finish the story?" And, and I'm talking about religious stuff. I'm talking about Jesus Christ. I'm testifying to the glory of God, and they coming back listening to me. I like most people run from that kind of action. And then
Yeah.
after I finished talking to this staff in therapy, what's that therapy physical occupation
Oh,
or the
wait.
New Orleans Saints?
Oh, the New Orleans Saints
Yeah.
at the training facility where they,
The people he put in place
yeah.
and what those people say. When I got into Brian Kelly's office, he just summarized it. He wasn't no big talker. He just validated what they said.
Yeah. That's awesome stuff, man. That just shows that Brian Kelly's looking at it more from just the football standpoint. He's taking a holistic viewpoint and trying to mold young men, not just football players.
And as I mentioned in some of my lessons, seeing women involved, as I said, it's very important. I'm a mother. I'm a mother first, recruitment and whatever. But I'm a mother, and I see women involved, and I mean, yeah, I'm sending my son to play football, but there's still a nurturing part to this that is important. And having women being a part of this program is important. But something else I want to mention too that is really important. Everyone knows that Notre Dame is a very a high is a school that that the grade you got to have really high level of grades.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys realize how important grades are going to be to Coach Kelly, and I think that's really important. Is that he's raising the level of expectation. Sometimes you go on these visits and that the school has a certain GPA to get in, and some of these schools will tell you, "Oh, don't worry about that GPA, we'll get them in." I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
That's the red flag for me because that lets me know. Well, what are you going to do when he get there? You just go. That's why I said you just gonna give him some filler classes just to be eligible. And we heard a lot of that conversation when we came in there that was some previous things that occurred. It's not going to be under Coach Kelly, as he said, graduate champions. He means that. When I looked at when we came in and we saw the staff that they put in place to work with those student athletes in the tutoring centers, how they're going to have access to those students' grades, what their class schedules are, the assignments they're going to have. That's going to be, they're going to have. Y'all not ready for that. That's going to be something that is for me. He has parents that have degrees, so that's important to me.
Wow.
But those are things that I know that people don't understand and we don't talk about a lot. But I can guarantee you that level that is going to be required of those student athletes is going to be big when it comes to education. He is going to graduate student athletes through LSU, and all of that. But they also talked about the plan for if they want to go to the league after 3 years or 3.5 years, whatever, that they'll have a plan for those athletes to still get their degree after they leave while they're in the NFL. He's already set that up. So that's big to me. Those things are huge.
That's major. That's major.
One thing, because we talked about it earlier, and you talked about Matt House and Barry Odom going through the process and realizing some of their shortcomings. Not necessarily naming specific schools or coaches, but what are some of the things that coaches get wrong during visits?
Having too many recruits on visits. One is you can't recruit even if you have so many spots available, say 4 or 5, you can't bring 4 because it spreads you out too thin. And you don't get a chance to know your recruits. We went on one visit and you had 4 recruits there for the same position. You didn't, and you can't, and in that same process, what happens is people realize this is also a competition for those spots. So we're on a visit and you have a parent that's trying to psych us out about not committing to this school because they want their kid to commit to this school. And then in the same process, wanted to tell us where our sons, and I'm putting this in quotes, value was at LSU. And I'm like, okay, I'm pulling up my phone because I know the kid's name. I'm not gonna share the kid's name. And I'm looking on the poster that they made at DBU, and I didn't see their kid on that poster. And I'm like, my kid on this poster, so obviously these are the kids that they're recruiting. So that's one of the things I say, having too many recruits on a visit. 1, 2, also not showing people the dorms. We went on a visit. You didn't show me the dorms. I need to know where my kids gonna stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't show me the campus. The other thing too that I think is important is LSU did a great job of. We weren't that close to the. We even though this was our set, we did the official visit, and but we had also came for an unofficial in April. So we had actually been there twice. Twice. Yeah. And because where we stayed, I think it was called the Renaissance. I think that's the name. But we were still able to see some of the city, you
Mm-hmm.
know, whereas on some visits, and then another, and then when we went to Washington, we were downtown, so we were able to see the city. I think you need to let people see a little of what the city offers, so that people know where they're leaving their kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Place is it safe? Is it how much culture do you have? How much diversity do you have? You
Mm.
know, I will give, not to shine some light, but Arkansas, it was very interesting when we were in Arkansas where we stayed, because Northern Arkansas has had a reputation of not being as diverse. But I have to say that the weekend we were there, they were actually having a pride parade right in front of our hotel. And I was like, wow, Arkansas has really changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was proud to see that, because
Right.
I was really glad to say, hey, diversity is moving up in
Yeah.
this area. So I think it's really important for people to see what the city is like. As I said, the dorms, show me the campus. Let me, talk to me about your programs. LSU brought in, when they asked us, a lot of schools will ask you, well, what do you want to major? LSU brought the people in so we could meet the
Mm.
department
Okay.
chairs and
Mm.
professors had breakfast with us. And
Yeah.
Wow.
we, you know, that's classy,
Yeah.
because I was able to ask Jeremiah, was able to ask questions. I was able to ask questions. I think that's important. Don't just talk to me about the school. Show me, what you can offer in the program. I think, telling me how my child gonna eat as a mother, you know, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the
Shout out to Dr. Freights. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
because
He
man,
he gonna eat good, that's for sure.
let me tell you, we did a smoothie. We had a smoothie contest while we was down there.
oh,
I mean,
okay.
and there was a few schools that showed us how the kids were
Yeah.
going to eat. I wasn't not just giving LSU probably. There was a few that did that, but you need to show parents where your child is going to eat, but also too, you know, um, what are you going to do? Show me how your staff is outside of football. And
Yeah.
so I'll give you an example. I was listening to the young man that just was on, just talking about Coach Kelly in the
Mhm.
PS4. So the night when we were on the official visit, we had dinner the first night at Coach Kelly's house. Now you got all the recruits out there, and then some of the football players there. And Coach Kelly is out there, some of the other coaches, and some of the coaches' wives. And they Coach Kelly's pool is sitting there. They were dumped up. They were allowing some of the coaches were allowing the recruits to dump them in the pool. Now, mind you, they weren't dressed to go in the swimming pool.
Wow.
They had on their LSU gear, like pants, and they weren't swimming gear, but they were having fun and they were laughing. That allowed these recruits to see, hey, they just regular people.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of times people, we understand this is a business. We get that.
Mhm.
But I need to know what you are outside of the business. And also I think there's a couple things that I saw that happened too. I think remember when we had the player testimonies. Player testimonies are key. I remember when we were at the University of Arkansas, there was a young man that talked about his mental health. He had left from another school because his mental health was really bad. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. And him sharing his story of how he ended up in Arkansas, but how Arkansas supported his mental health was
Mhm.
key. And
Yeah.
I think because me asking you as a coach, you're not gonna answer my question. I need to ask that player.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think those things are very key, and everyone doesn't do that. And so those are the main things for me, that I saw that I said, are important to me as I share with people, because other people are asking me still, and then one thing I'll say that didn't happen to us, that actually someone inboxed me after I shared our journey on Twitter, was that be respectful of people's time and money.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, we did what we could to make sure that Jeremiah had every opportunity. We took him everywhere, wherever he said he wanted to go, we took him. No one, and let me add this so people know this for sure. Nobody paid for us to go anywhere. We paid for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we did our own unofficial. No, except for the officials, no one paid for us to go anywhere. We did our own. That has to be said because y'all know there's some handlers out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah,
Right.
Mhm.
we did our own. But I say that to say that there are a lot of parents that spend a lot of money to get their kids to camps, to get in front of coaches because they think they have a chance. And I don't think coaches realize some of these are single mothers, single fathers, or low income people that are doing the best that they can. And if you are, and I think I put this on Twitter, you already know who you want.
Yeah.
Don't have an open camp,
Yeah.
you know, because some people have traveled from California, Florida, Baltimore, Michigan, Midwest to get to these camps, and you don't even give them a chance, and you blow people off. Because we saw that a couple of times. It didn't happen to us, but we saw that, and I don't think that coaches get that. Is that you may not have known that that kid existed. You may be missing out on the gym. We actually were at
Yeah.
a camp in Arkansas where there was a kid that literally ruled every 4 and 5 star DB in the world at that camp. When I tell you that kid was the bomb, he was, but no one knew who
Now,
he was.
now, Miss, I was just about to ask you, would you so happen to have his name?
He's a,
just,
he's,
can you just make sure he come to Baton Rouge with your son?
he's a 22 kid. He was a
Yeah.
22 kid.
Okay, I got you.
His name is Malachi Brooks, and he was from Texas. But let me tell you,
He was
Malachi was
cooking
the
it.
real deal. He ended up going D2. And me and his mom actually we are friends. We became really close after we went to Arkansas last summer together. So I'm gonna be watching him because he's
Yeah.
gonna wreak havoc down there in D2 because he was definitely under recruited.
Wow.
But I just say that to say that coaches need to be mindful that they need to be respectful of people's money and time.
Yeah.
And,
Let
and
me.
Miss Nikki, if I could ask a quick question, and you don't have to answer this, but I do think high school college recruiting has changed so much over the last year or two. Now we know your son Jeremiah; he's been getting recruited for a long time. Have you guys noticed a change with the NIL and all this other?
It's funny you asked that question because when I was looking at the questions you all sent and I was sharing them with Larissa a little while ago, one of the things that I wanted to share with y'all, LSU's only school that didn't talk to us about NIL.
Mm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Interesting.
nice.
Very
Yeah,
interesting.
And let me give my mindset. I'm all for people making money off of what they are because I'm like I said, DTR UCLA is doing a great job of what so I'm following his blueprint and seeing how this works. But I'm also one of the things that Brian Kelly said that I thought was really important when he met with us is that you got to have some sense of control in your locker room when it comes to NIL. Is that I have to start out with everybody getting the same amount. And then your play will determine where your altitude can go to the next level.
Mm, I
yeah,
like it.
And when you do that, you don't have any problems in your locker room because your players determine what your pay can be. And that was key to me is that because that's going to be an issue maybe somewhere down the road in some places when it comes to NIL. And when you were asking me about how has NIL changed, we have a son that's a couple years older than Jeremiah, definitely has changed, and we see the landscape of how it has changed. But a lot of schools are preparing for it, and have some things in place. But LSU didn't talk to us about it, and in all honesty, it's not. It's important to Jeremiah, you know, but that wasn't a determining factor for us, you know.
Yeah.
If you handle your business, NIL is going to come. If you handle your business, NFL is going to come. You know,
Yeah.
so that, I'll be honest, that was, to answer your question, that wasn't a determining factor for us.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Absolutely.
do you really need to talk NIL when you got them good oysters though? I'm just I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna tell you that food was, out of all the trips, the food on that trip, I was like, that was that was free.
And I can already see it now. Jeremiah gonna have an NIL deal with an oyster house down south somewhere.
I know who's gonna take advantage of it. It won't be Jeremiah.
Is it Acme? Is that the name of the place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's work on Acme, because I really enjoyed the grilled and the fried oysters there.
Yes. Let me ask you this though. What was one of the things that surprised you the most that you didn't expect about, LSU or Baton Rouge as a whole whenever you got to campus?
I got you, huh? No, I wasn't surprised about it. It wasn't no surprise. They was everything that I thought they was gonna be, and some extra. I wasn't surprised because I didn't have I wasn't anticipating nothing special. I knew I was coming to see. I know it's football. I know it's SEC. And I've been following SEC for a while, and I pretty well knew what to expect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Now, if I can too, because are you guys, and of course, with you guys being on the West Coast, are y'all paying any? And this is not a LSU question, but are y'all paying any attention to the Pac-12? And did some of that come into making your decision also with the
As
changes
far
of
as like Jeremiah,
USC? Yeah, USC,
or are you
UCLA.
talking about the fact that they're going to be moving to the Big Ten?
Yes.
In all honesty, Utah, Washington, and Washington State, and Colorado. Colorado was actually the first that offered Jeremiah. And I'll be honest with you, we love Colorado. Colorado, that's a great staff that they have there. It just was cold. It's just cold there. But that was a great visit. We took an unofficial to Colorado. He definitely thought about it. I'm not gonna say it didn't. The Pac-12 is amazing. We pretty much have been to every school in the Pac-12 except for Cal and Stanford. I'll be honest. There's only two we didn't visit. But I think Jeremiah knew that the big stage was SEC. And I think he knew that the SEC would get him to the next level. But Washington stepped in there when they had those three DBs that got drafted this year. One of them, which is Radley, went to Gorman before he went to IMG and then went on to Oklahoma. So he had been following Radley a little bit. So I don't think that they weren't on the table. I think it if they had maybe recruited a little lot harder, or as I say, a relationship. Remember, I just talked to you about relationship. I just think Steeples was, if he had to choose, Steeples laid it out there, and a lot of people, always say, well, it's because Nico, it was already, no, it wasn't. It played a part. I'm not going to tell you it didn't, but yeah, I think either one would have been fine.
Let me. Oh, go ahead, Pooh.
No. I was going to ask because I know we've talked and you've been very active in Twitter space and stuff. How has fans received you and your family, especially after the commitment and stuff?
Fans from LSU.
Fans from LSU and other schools.
Other schools also.
I'll be honest with you, because I'm one of those type of people that I like to keep the peace. As you notice, even in Renzo's not really that active on Twitter. He sees what I post, but he's not really active. So, most of the stuff, as you see, I shouted out everybody. You know, when I made my post, you know, but I feel like everybody has been great to us. LSU, Washington, no one's like deleted, just stopped following Jeremiah because he went to LSU, you know, because he's not really a big social media head anyway. He's not talking trash about anybody. He's being, we're respecting the process, you know, and I think if you respect the process, people will respect you back. I mean, let's use Arkansas. I was born in Arkansas. Lorenzo was born in Arkansas. Jeremiah was born in Arkansas. I'm going to the Arkansas game when they play BYU. That's we from Arkansas. How can you not steal? I mean, of course, when we come to LSU, we got to change that. But that's home for us, you know. And so, how am I going to be mean? And not only that, but I'll use because I think it probably came down to those two in particular because everyone thought he would come home. When, like I mentioned, those writers were great to Jeremiah, you know, and still have been great to Jeremiah. So I can't say we got any flack, but I think it's because we respected the process. You know, we were respectful to people, and I told Jeremiah, you don't know where these coaches are going to be, you know, and you don't know who's going to be in different places, you know. So be respectful of people and people's time when they're recruiting you. And I think that's why we haven't had that issue.
Right.
Well, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I wish we could stay on talk with y'all all night.
Yeah.
I promise. I've got I guess 2 more questions. If you could take all the business you guys went on, and just take bits and pieces and build like this Frankenstein of a perfect visit, what would it look like?
Ooh. Okay.
I would say from Arkansas, the testimonies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Testimonies were real. Yeah. Testimony.
From LSU.
The oysters.
Food. Washington, how they administration stepped up and taught us and opened and got us aware of what we need to be listening for. They was the first school, so they like prepared us, you know. And then what is something else?
I was. Let me add what he said about Washington. Washington was the first school to talk to us about NIL because it was our first visit. And the lady that was up there named Amber, she's an attorney that they brought in from Atlanta. I have to give her props because she knew her stuff.
Yeah.
And when I say she laid it out, and she had a plan together for athletes. They how they combined, and even Arkansas had the same thing where they talked about combining with the business department to help students learn about financial literacy in regards to NIL. And so those are things that I thought were really important. But I have to give Washington props there because they set the tone for that. It really was probably one of the best NIL presentations that I had seen from the beginning. We talked about that when we left. Personality, when you talk about, remember I said about personalization?
He said like taking a little bit from everybody.
Well, personalization would be one for me.
From who?
From LSU.
From LSU.
LSU personalization.
Yeah. And their nutrients, the nutrients program.
Oh yeah.
And the strength building. It's, you know, putting all that together. You got to have that. You got to have nutrients. You got to have strength building. You got to have testimonies from your players, and administration. That's 4 things I would like to see on every visit.
And when you're talking about the medical part, that was key for us because when we came to visit Jeremiah, when we brought Jeremiah the first time, Jeremiah had just had surgery like maybe 2 weeks ago. And you want to say hey? Come on over. Y'all got a visitor.
Hey, shout out.
Hey, what's going on with you, bro?
Congratulations.
When we first came to LSU in April, Jeremiah had just had his surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a chance to meet the medical staff, and and he asked, he asked Jeremiah what had happened, and he looked and he asked Jeremiah a couple questions and was talking to us, and he was like, "Well, what did they do?" And so Jeremiah had the total. they did the total meniscus repair on his knee, and the doctor looked at him and was like, "Oh, I can't even tell you had surgery." Because he was just, and he was telling that he gave us some recommendations as far as like blood restricting therapy. I mean, literally told us some things to do to get Jeremiah back on the field. When Jeremiah is actually back on the field now, he's 6 weeks earlier because of that advice. But let me explain. That advice comes from a doctor that Brian Kelly was able to steal from the New Orleans Saints. You see, so you see how, as I mentioned earlier about putting people in place,
Right.
that so Brian Kelly has to be smart. He went to the pros and pulled their guy over to LSU. And when we went to our official visit, we went up to the doctor and was like, "Do you remember him?" He was like, "Yes, I remember." He couldn't believe when he looked at Jeremiah, and I was like, "It's because of the advice you gave us."
Yeah,
When
awesome.
we were there, So it's like, so when you talk about the complete package,
Right.
I have to add that doctor in there,
Right.
because he, you could go on a visit and somebody be like, "That's damaged goods. Don't even fool with that."
Yeah.
He looked at Jeremiah, I was like, "Yeah, you had a great doctor, and here's some things, I would, have look into this type of therapy." Came back and it worked, so hey, you can't beat that.
Yeah, love it.
All right. Again, like I said, we could talk to y'all all night, and
Yeah.
Matt, we might just end the show after this. But I will say, for the UAPB and both of y'all, we're going to SWAT Media Day this week. I'll give y'all, what questions should we ask of UAPB?
Oh Lord, look, this one of them questions you might not need to record, dog. This way.
Hey, just DM it to us.
Yeah, just DM me.
I got mad love for UAPB. One of Bishop Gorman's players is Jordan Mack. He's a 2019 graduate of Bishop Gorman. He's a lineman. He started there since he was a freshman. And having offensive linemen, as you know, Taron Armstead came from UAPB and played and came from the Saints. They're known for putting some great offensive linemen and tackles out there. So I would definitely touch on, as you guys see, I'm a football fanatic. So you see, I know a little bit. So definitely I would talk about, the offensive tackles, how are you going to build on that? The other thing I would probably ask too is, as we're moving, as you see Dion and Hugh Jackson up there in Grambling, how are they going to stay competitive? As an alumni, this is the question we as alumni are having, is how are we going to stay competitive when you're talking about Dion bringing in millions of dollars and people are donating there? Hugh Jackson is going to bring some money there. And you got Cedric Thornton, who's the defensive coordinator at Grambling, who came from Alcorn, who built those great Alcorn defenses. I'm gonna throw this out there to you in case he's at the media day. His wife is the women's basketball coach at UAPB. So just in case y'all didn't.
Wow.
But Coach Thornton, if you remember all those great Alcorn defenses, there's going to start being some money that is going to be brought into Grambling. So how is UAPB going to be competitive? And that's a question really that you guys could ask any other program, because really that is going to be the thing, is how are we going to stay competitive? And then the third question I would ask, which is that has come up as of yesterday after Dion made the statement, is how will the SWAC stay relevant if schools start bouncing to FBS?
Yeah, that's a good question. Hey, somebody wants to know if you can coach their nephew's football team.
Pee Wee team.
Yes, I could. I wish my middle son was down here, because he coached a little league team, a 14U team this year. And the first game, he got sick. He got dehydrated. And literally, he was the offensive coordinator. And I called the offensive plays for him. I've been in this game. Jordan has been playing football, Jeremiah's brother, since he was 4. We've been, and Jeremiah's 20. We've been playing football. We've been in football 17, 18 years. So yes, I could coach.
I heard that.
You know,
Look, I got one question for you. And
yeah, I
all
got
right,
one more after you. Yeah.
we know what Jeremiah attends Bishop Gorman. We know that they're a powerhouse out there in Vegas. So let me ask you this: what's the expectations for this season for Jeremiah and his team?
Natty, straight up.
Ooh, I
Nothing
like it.
else, nothing less, huh?
Yeah, you
I
must
like
haven't
it.
looked at our schedule.
I like
Go
it.
go
I like
go
it.
look at our schedule. We play Matter Day second game.
I
Ooh,
love
They've
it.
been the
okay.
number one the last 2 years.
That's on ESPN. I'm
Should
assuming.
be.
Gotta
I
be.
believe
I'm
it's on
assuming. Yeah,
ESPN.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna check
Yeah.
that out for sure.
Go look at our first 5 games. We letting you know we coming for business. In fact, the quarterback that just committed to Alabama, we're playing him. I believe the third or fourth game.
Okay.
It's week 5, Jeremiah. He said week 5. Week
Okay.
5. We'll be playing the quarterback that just committed to Alabama. So
Jeremiah
Yeah,
know
So
what
we
to
need
do.
go
we
ahead
need
and let
three
him know what he
picks.
got. Yeah, go ahead and let him know what he got to look forward to for the next 3 or 4 years,
that's right.
Jeremiah.
That's
Exactly.
right. That's right.
Let's
So
go.
yeah, we want nothing but I mean, this team
Yeah.
is stacked.
Yeah.
If you look at this team and look at our roster, you just saw Zachariah Branch just showed out up there with Womack at
Hmm.
the Under Armour camp this week. So we ready.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hey, y'all playing Bo Nix and I watched Bo Nix and Cordell Flott go at each other in high school like a championship game. I don't, and from that game, I don't remember Bo Nix ever throwing near Cordell Flott in college. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
and look, and let me ask my last question. But I have a little guy. My son is 6. Any pointers that you guys can give us, us young parents, when it comes to creating excellent athletes, not just excellent athletes, but excellent kids.
Young man. Yeah.
Any pointers? Yeah, young men.
Well, I know Larissa will probably say keep God first, pray
Yeah,
over him,
Yes.
because injuries can come. This is the first time we've ever had to deal with an injury with either one of our kids, and
yeah,
thank God it came at the right time. It came during 7-on-7 season, and we ready for regular season. So definitely keep them prayed up, and
yeah,
cover them in prayer because as we know, this sport can be dangerous,
Yeah.
and because it's dangerous on the flip side of that, because as you talking about your son, you got a lot of parents out here that have their kids do some things that they shouldn't do on the football field, blindside hit. So keep
Yeah.
hmm
your kid, keep their head on the swivel. So that's why I said keep your kid prayed up. Make sure that you have coaches that are not just about winning, that are about teaching. If you notice when Jeremiah did his commitment video, he made sure to call out his and even his commitment video and even on his commitment announcement, he called out the coaches that were really in his life that are still in his life now that are like literally he could pick up the phone and call them now and talk to them and just have some conversation with them about this process. And I think that's really important because if you don't have development there, your kid will never be better. We played, and I'm not going to tell you we didn't play on some super teams. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I think the best development he had was those teams where because Jeremiah was always one of, if not the best player on the team, one of the better players on the team. He lifted his team up by his play. And I think that is key with your child is that, teaching them how to be better teammates.
Mm.
And then also teaching your child how to lose. I mean, Jeremiah suffered some
hmm
bad losses in some national tournament games that literally could be devastating. But literally, how do you fuel that for the next year? How does
yeah,
that make you better? You're gonna have some losses. You're not gonna go 13-0 every year. You're gonna have some, and when you lose, what could you have done? And one of the things my kids will tell you that they hate, and I think I said it on in the space was that I am always dogging them out on the field. I'm always yelling at them, cussing at them sometimes too. Hate to say that, but that's because I want them to only hear my voice. I want them to block out the other noise. And I always would ask them, what did you do wrong? I know they're superstars, but what did you do wrong? Because that's the thing we need to work on. And I think if you teach from that standpoint, they will be fine. And football will make them be great men, young men. Um, be involved, stay involved. You know, we haven't. I think Lorenzo told me I missed maybe one game in his whole career since he's been playing football. Be involved. You know, let them make the choices. You know, when they want to play. You know, let them play when they need a break. Give them a break.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's important too. You know, is that it's not for you, it's for them. You know, so you know that's some of the best advice I can give you from a parent. You know, from a parent perspective, is that but stay involved. You know, and when something don't seem right, it ain't right.
Dropping gems. She's dropping gems. I hope y'all paying attention, man.
Jeremiah was close to leaving the game in Pee Wee, so he didn't like that Pee Wee football. He'll go out there on kickoff, and after kickoff, he'll run straight to that bench, sit on that bench, and we say, "Well, go there and tell your coach let you in the game." My coach told me to sit right here. He tell us, my coach said, sit right here. You got to keep. He had to be with somebody who's going to not focus on winning, but have a relationship with him, and and teaching him how to have fun in the game and wanting to play. So.
Yeah, that's key because Jeremiah, as he said, Jeremiah after his first year did not want to play football ever again. He was like, "I'm through with that." And
he told us, he said, before they started talking about head-to-head comeback, before they start calling helmet, he said, "Daddy, they doing helmet to helmet out there." I'm not going back out there.
He was way ahead of the game, but then he met Coach D, and Coach D made him love the game of football. So that's why I'm saying to you as a parent, don't. There's a coach out there for your kid that's going to teach you to love the game. And Coach D was our guy. He made Jeremiah love the game of football, and I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of kids lose the love for the game, not because of something that they did, but it's for coaches, who've taken that love away from them.
Right.
Yeah, and it's important to listen to your kids. When they telling you some things, listen to them. But I also say this too. Something you asked me a little while ago that I didn't mention that I think is really important too, is that we were of the mindset when our middle son was coming up. Hey, they going to practice. They don't need training. They just go to practice. They're getting it all at the field. Those days are over. People train after football practice, and so you can't just expect your kid to get what they need at practice. You're gonna have to pay for that extra. Like Jeremiah was training like 6 days a week. Outside of football, and you guys don't understand. Gorman practice is like a protein. So you imagine going in.
He just got off of an injury, and he just passed a conditioning test, not the conditioning camp. Not conditioning camp, but a conditioning test. Them jokers go hard.
Yeah.
The test, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, when he told his first day back, but that goes into his off season, his physical therapy, his rehab that we had planned for him. We were like, if you come off this injury, you gotta be ready to go right back.
Preparation,
and, we made sure that we put something in place because he trains at Game Changers. They have everything right there for him, so we were ready. So when he came back the first day, his coach Brown was like, "You passed under the time." They were like,
he wasn't even required.
He wasn't even required. He was like, "You didn't even have to take the test." He was like, "No, I want to take it." We ready. We ready.
Yeah. I'll say this. Seeing you guys as parents and stuff, and talking with you, I can tell the kind of player we're getting in Jeremiah as a fan.
Quality.
Everything
already a fan.
Yeah, everything that Coach Kelly has mentioned and stuff. You guys have, through your words and stuff, have shown us that Jeremiah embodies that. Thank you for being an inspiration to us. Thank you for your tweets and stuff, talking about your journey. Which as soon as we saw that, we were like, hey, if we can talk to them, let's get them on the show.
Absolutely.
I truly, I did, and charge my head, not my heart. I did not intend to have y'all on this long, but
Oh no, look, we were good. We were good. We were like, it's okay.
we truly thank y'all. Y'all have an open
That's
invite.
awesome.
If y'all want to come in here and tell us more about them oysters, hey, I'm down for it.
What we'll do? Why don't we do this when we'll try to do it after if we're able to make it to a game. We'll try to do it after we come to the game because we never had the game experience, and that way
Gotcha.
we
Man,
Definitely.
I'm down with it. Down for
Yeah.
it. Down for it.
Do y'all have any games in mind that you want to go to this year?
Well, see, this is the holdup. This is not that we don't want to come. The holdup is, like I said, Gorman is a factory. So on Saturdays, they normally have Saturday breakfast where they go over game film and they eat breakfast together as a team. So if they're doing that this year, that will cut us out from being able to make a game because the travel is, any
We ain't
game.
gonna make no games.
Yeah, so I'm planning on emailing the coach. But the two games that I want to attend, one is definitely Southern because my niece goes to Southern, so I definitely know. And after
That's gonna
listening
be
to you guys
sold
talk,
out. Yeah.
yeah, they already said that one's gonna be the one.
Good evening, yeah.
And then the other one, I hate to tell y'all, it's gonna hurt y'all feelings, but it's real. I've been an Alabama fan since 1991.
All right, well, it was good to have you on.
Man, you hurt my heart.
Everything was going good. No.
Oh, tomato. I'm throwing tomatoes.
But I want to go to that game. Hey, I got. Look,
Hey, you know what they say. Nobody's perfect. There's something wrong with everybody. And if that's the only flaw you got, I mean, you ain't doing too bad.
Look, that's what I'm saying. Look, and nobody can say I just a bandwagoner. 1991. Come on now, And you have to understand, loyalty is everything to me. So if I'm a loyal fan, I'm loyal. So that means you're gonna get a loyal LSU fan. And I go all the way in when it comes to our kids. So
I heard that.
Well,
Well, I hate that you're gonna have to come to LSU and watch your team lose.
That's okay. It was a nice run while it lasted. So hey, it's time to make that change.
Yeah, tell her. Yeah, that's right. Tell her.
Right.
Well, again, thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all.
Look forward to having y'all on again. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Mr. and Mrs. Hughes, the parents of Jeremiah Hughes. Big round of applause.